Hello, hello. I'm hoping that we've got a little bit of a better setup this time. The lighting, although maybe not. We'll have to see. Give me a second. Luckily, there's nobody else in stream right now, which is kind of what I was hoping for. Because every time I have to figure out a new setup, it can be a little bit stressful. Give me just half a second to reposition the lava lamp. Don't mind. All right, sorry about that. Sticky note of anonymity. I think that might be a little better. I'll probably still play around with the placement of things a little bit more. But yeah, put that down a bit. Oh, that helps. Okay. All right. So, first of all, I apologize for any background noise. I was gonna do all my chores early in the day, and then I didn't. So now I have the washing machine and the dishwasher running. So um, that was my mistake. But we shall proceed anyway. So the current situation is we've got this much roving left. We've got a chuck trying to get onto my loom already, which isn't ideal. This is only about 1 ounce. I weighed it already. We've got this remaining from the last spinning session. Oh, Chuck, come on, man. Hey, come on. No. You do not need to go up there. And I shall poke you with an apron bar. Go. Go. I know, it's so sad. Oh, buddy. Come on. And then I also, in between getting distracted by Chuck constantly, I also made a ply ball. So this is from the last two bobbins, the two full bobbins that I spun already. So I basically just held them together and turned them into a ply ball. So that's going to be part of what we're plying, and then hopefully we're going to finish up spinning this, and hopefully it'll ply well with the bobbin, and yeah, it's possible we'll get it all done tonight, depending on the vibes, how tired I get, that sort of thing. It's nice doing this on a Saturday because if I stay up too late, I work Monday through Friday, so if I stay up too late, at least I'm not super fucked over in the morning, which is what happens if I do this on a weekday. Well, that's okay. Sometimes it's worth it, All right, just gotta get it a little oiled. It looks like there's somebody in. Welcome in. Let me know if you're having any trouble hearing me. There's a bit of extra appliance background noise today that I wasn't really planning for. I'm trying to speak a little louder to compensate. But anyway, at the moment, we are just going to finish up spinning this one remaining ounce of roping. That's all we have left, which is kind of crazy. I don't know how fast all that went. And then we're going to ply as much of it as we can. What am I doing? I locked myself out of my apartment like 20 minutes ago, and I'm still all frazzled from that, if I'm being honest. But I got back in okay. It was fine. It's just like I did that yesterday too, and it's not ideal when you lock yourself out of your apartment twice in a row. But oh well. Let's see. Again, if I ever used a leader, like this would be faster. But I don't have a leader, and I don't even really know how to use them, so we'll be slow. It's my usual motto. I didn't learn the easier way to do this thing, so I'll just be slow. Alright, yeah, it's been one of those afternoons, sort of out of sorts all day, but glad to be working a little. Oh, hello. Hello, welcome in. Good to see you back. Let me know if there's anything about the setup that you think needs changing. I've been changing it each time, so I never really know. All right, once we get this attached, we'll finally be actually doing something other than just talking. So I've been carding my Shetland Clun Forest cross for the last couple of days, and I actually have like quite a big bag of Rolex already, which is exciting because that means we can maybe start spinning it like as soon as I'm done plying this. I just need to finish doing all of one color first because I've just been kind of like, I don't know, because I have like 10 different colors. That might be an exaggeration. 5 to 10 different colors that I've dyed with this fleece. And it's kind of more fun if you just like randomly pick a color for each Rolex to card, or at least I think it's a little more fun. So that's what I've been doing. But I plan on spinning each color separately so that I have a bunch of small, differently colored skeins. So the setup, like where the camera is and stuff, is good. Good. Okay, I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, fresh Rolex. I do. I do love a good fresh Rolex. Hard to go wrong with a Rolex. They're the first fiber prep that I ever learned how to do for myself, and I think I just still love them. They're so good to spin. They're so fun to make. I'm doing a bread experiment. Well, a series of bread experiments ongoing. With my sourdough starter, and because it's a young starter and because I'm using like spelt flour, which doesn't rise very much, I've just been having nonstop problems. So now what I'm doing is I'm doing tiny little loaves. I bought these mini loaf tins, and I'm doing like one loaf a day, and I'm writing down exactly what I do to try and figure it out. See if I can just actually make a good loaf of bread, which is kind of sad because I've been baking for like well over a decade, but baking bread specifically for well over a decade, and right now I cannot make a good loaf to save my life. But anyway, I was like rolling up today's dough, and it's exactly like rolling up a Rolex. So that was a fun discovery. Bread experimentation, yeah, I love bread experimentation. I love bread, and I love baking, and I also love experimenting. So it's up there with my top activities for sure. I'm almost out of this spelt flour though. It's like a spelt and all-purpose, or no, spelt and unbleached bread flour blend, and it's just a blend because I dumped 2 bags of flour in the same bucket. And I've been working through that, and I have like literally 2 cups of it left, so I'm on to whole wheat flour after that. And it might get a little easier. I hope it gets easier. I hope it does not get harder, at least, because that'd be unfortunate. The Rolag loaf continuum, accurate. I make Rolags, I make a loaf of bread, I make another Rolag. and make another loaf of bread. It's taken up like all my time in the evenings, but otherwise I kind of just like lay in bed miserably. So this is probably better than what I was doing. Does the kind of flour matter? And you don't bake at all. Yes, it. So the kind of flour changes the taste, and like that's the main thing. That's the main reason why I have spelt, is it changes the taste, but it also the amount of protein and the like whether or not it's whole wheat or whole grain rather, or like whether that's been sifted out, that really changes things. It's more difficult to get a well-risen bread out of a whole grain loaf because the tiny bits of bran from the grain cut up the strands of gluten. And so like your work is kind of being undone as you do it. But I was raised by like hippie parents, so I grew up eating Ezekiel bread, and if it wasn't Ezekiel bread, then it was like just whatever whole grain we could find. So I really don't like white bread, and I don't know how to bake it at all because I don't eat it. So yeah, so the issue that I've been having mainly is that like spelt in particular doesn't rise very much, and that leads to sort of stodgy, dense loaves, which is not super what I want to eat. Like they taste delicious, to be clear. They taste really fucking good, but the texture and the size is not what I'm going for. So I don't know. I'm sure I'll figure it out. I've gotten better at the technique part. It's just my results are always still the same. But I found like I don't know. I'm one of those like jack of all trades kind of guys, and I found that it takes me a really long time to get any good at anything. Like way longer than it seems to take for most people. But if I stick with it, I will always figure it out. So I'm motivated to stick with it at least for a while. Plus, my starter, which is 100% rye, which is a really nice flour to make a sourdough starter out of. It smells so good. And I'm kind of like, I would continually bake sourdough just to smell that every day. Even if I got nothing else out of it, it just smells great. So, yeah. Oh, I imagine you guys haven't seen, but this is the ply ball I made out of those last two totally full bobbins. Made this ply ball, and I'm excited to ply it. It's a nice little ply ball, so I'm happy. It sounds very nice to have the smell of lovely bread in your home. Jealous. It does. Like it is nice, and if you have the ability to like give it a shot, I really recommend. It's very fun. Does your starter have a name? I know they tend to. Yes, I asked a friend, and she said I should name it Dante. So that's its name. I'm glad you guys like the fly ball. Yeah, I'm excited. And I wrapped it around something very interesting, or at least I thought it was interesting. When I wrap ply balls, I don't tend to do the like classic, just sort of start winding over your fingers. I like to wrap it around something because that way it doesn't fly up in the air when you get down to the last couple meters. And I usually wrap it around a rock. But this time I did not find a rock, and I did find something else. So I'll field any and all guesses, but I won't confirm what it is until I apply it. Mostly because I'm like never 100% sure if I'm remembering something correctly. It'd be awkward if I was like, yeah, and I applied it around this cool thing, and then like we finish plying the yarn, and it's actually not that. That'd be awkward. It's been super nice weather here recently. I don't know about the weather anywhere else in the world, but we're having a false spring right now, and it was so nice. I was outside making my roll lags, just sort of like breathing in the fresh air, listening to the birds again. It's very enjoyable. I'm gonna try and take my cat on a walk again tomorrow because the weather's nice. She's difficult to walk. If you think walking a cat is hard, like just to begin with, try doing it when you're in a power share. It's so much harder. So much harder. Is it as small as a rock? Well, that's hard to answer because rocks come in many different sizes. It is the size of other rocks I own, if that helps. Let's see, we've had 60s and 70s the past few days, but rain is coming. Yeah, I think that's about how it is too. Like here, the good weather is not going to last, but that's okay. It's almost nicer when you just have this quick little interim that reminds you that winter does not last forever, and then back to winter. I don't mind it. I'm really hoping that I will end up with exactly perfect even amounts on each bobbin. And I am looking at the remaining roving, and I really don't think that's going to be the case. So there's probably going to be a little bit of ply bracelet making at some point. It's been cold lately here, but it gets horrendously hot in the summer, so I enjoy it for now. Yeah, I get that. I'm used to hot because I grew up in California, so southern United States, and it gets real hot there in the summers. But it's nice and dry. It's a dry heat, which I don't mind. And here where I live currently, it's much wetter, and so it's like 90% humidity in the summer. It's just disgusting. I'm not looking forward to that. I can tell you that much. I like parts of summer. I like not being cold, but spring is definitely my favorite season. There's just something about like everything waking up again. It's very enjoyable every single time. Humidity, my enemy. Yeah, me too. 0% humidity is my ideal. Several years ago, I was helping my mom move in California, and it was about 110 degrees, which I think is around like 45 Celsius, but don't quote me on that. It was very hot, 0% humidity, and I just come from where I'm currently living, where it was 100% humidity and way cooler, technically speaking. And my mom was like constantly trying to herd me back inside to the AC, and I was like, it's fine, it's nice out here. It's not too bad. Here, an autumn themed. That's fair. Autumn is very nice as well. I don't like the rain that typically comes with it, but I did like autumn in California a lot. I don't know. I think if I could pick like where I'd live all over again, because I've never really gotten to pick the state that I've lived in. I think I would go somewhere incredibly hot and incredibly dry, like a desert or something. I would love that. The only problem is there's not usually sheep in deserts. There's some sheep, but like in the US, not a lot of sheep in our deserts. So that'd be a little sad. Ugh. This roving thing is now like really not wanting to cooperate. I'm just going to quickly, great. I'm going to quickly unroll all of it and then roll it into a ball just so that it stops tearing itself asunder. Goats, maybe? I do love goats. Spent some time with goats, had many of my shoes eaten. And I really love goat milk and goat cheese, although I haven't tried them since I became lactose intolerant. But I love goats. Cashmere is really fun to work with also, and mohair. Enjoy both. So that's true. That's pretty viable. And there's also like llamas, I guess, and camels. Although I have no idea where you'd get a camel in the United States. But I've spun some camel fur, I guess. I don't. I think there's a specific term for camel fiber, and I don't know what it is. But I've spun it and done a couple like prep experiments on it, and it's really interesting. I really want to make a camel coat at some point. I would love that, like an overcoat, because it's not very soft, but it seems like it'd be super nice and durable. What is going on here? It's like a circle at the end. Okay. All right, now we roll it back up. In this case, I don't want to roll it around something because it's just roving, so it can't stand up to like any weight at all. So if I were to put a rock in here, it would just snap instead. But when it comes to like spun fibers, I really prefer weighting them down when I roll them into balls. I do it when I'm like gonna knit with something too. What is camel fiber like? That's a good question. So it's one of those dual coated animals. So it's got really rough outer guard hairs that are sort of like, I don't know, they're sort of like steel wool almost. If you've ever used one of those steel wool scrubbies, like not as harsh, obviously, but a similar like texture. And then the down is fairly soft. It's very short. It's kind of difficult to spin, but I would do it out of, like if I were to make a camel coat, I would do it out of those guard hairs and have a really nice, like thick, dense, hairy coat. I don't know if that sounds appealing to anyone other than me, but like I would be so happy with a coat like that. Could you describe the texture of the roving? You're curious. Yeah, it's like, give me a second to feel it and see if I can come up with some good words. It's sort of like a really soft blanket. You can't feel the individual strands of it. It's really like smooth and slick. It does not feel like wool roving at all. It definitely feels like alpaca. So it's really slick and almost airy and bubbly, which might be a sign that I'm making too much bread. But that's kind of what it feels like. It's almost like a high hydration bread dough, which I understand is not a very helpful descriptor. But yeah, it's got like no tooth to it really, and the fibers, for the most part, don't stick to one another. So it requires a little bit of like constant management. Let's see. In that children's fantasy book where the hero gets a hairy coat that turns spiky if you rub it the wrong way. I thought a lot about that coat. I've never read that book, but honestly, that sounds like ideal. I would love a spiky coat. There was a while when I was a leather coat kind of guy, and I really, really, really desperately wanted to put spikes on it, but I was like incredibly broke at the time and didn't know that you could DIY spikes out of like tin cans. So I never did, but I was so into the idea. I just think spikiness in general is a fun attribute. Move the spinning wheel again. Having some foot pain today, so me moving the spinning wheel is probably going to be a constant theme. The only problem I think is that like it's not. Last I checked, anyway, which was a couple years ago, it's not easy to find camel guard hairs that have already been separated out, and when I was working with it, like I just bought a small, like 2-ounce, 50-gram sample, just to sort of play around with, and it had both the down and the guard hairs mixed together. And I combed them on my hand combs, and it was pretty effective in separating the two, but it took a really long time. And I don't know if I'd want to do that for enough for a coat. So I don't know. I kind of feel like it'd be easier to pull them out if I like had a whole fleece. But that might be totally untrue. But in my little like sample, it was all jumbled up. It wasn't like a flat piece of fleece with distinct locks. I guess I don't know if camels have locks or a lock structure at all. I don't know. I've never seen one before, so it's kind of hard to tell. It had a really nice like texture though, like sort of twine-ish once it was spun up. And especially because I didn't remove all of the down. It was like sort of soft and toothsome almost. I don't know. I should see if I can find, because I didn't spin all of it. I still have some of that sample left. I should see if I can find it and have another go at it. Yeah, one thing I'm not looking forward to in the summer is that like my apartment is already intolerably hot from having my oven on baking, and there's no AC in this building for some reason. So it is not, and I might have to hold off on bread baking in the summer. Might have to go for like flat bread instead that I can just cook on a pan. I mean, to be fair, like naan is really good. Sourdough naan is really, really good. I don't know if it's like a traditional thing people typically make, but I've made it and it's delicious. But it just doesn't work for sandwiches though, and that's what I bring to work a lot. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure it'll be fine. Same here. You cook at like 2 a.m. in the summer. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I have like a whole bunch of summer recipes, like tabbouleh, for example, like grain salads, and things that don't require any cooking at all except maybe boiling water and pouring it over grains. And that is like the main thing I eat in the summer. That and salads and just like random vegetables out of the fridge. I cannot. I'm not having a soup in summer. I'm not having spaghetti or something like that. It's not going to work. But I don't think I could get away with baking bread at 2 a.m. in the summer, unfortunately, because I have to get up at 5 in the morning for work. So. Ugh, I want this roving ball to end. I want to start flying. I still don't have a firm idea of what I'm going to do with this, but I'm settling, I think, on a hooded cowl because I do think it'd be really cool, and I think it would have an interesting drape as an alpaca garment. But I also definitely need to spin up some of my really nice soft alpaca, which is just like an unprepped fleece that I have somewhere in a box, and use that for like the neck parts maybe, so they don't. Because this is not quite next to skin quality. It's nice, but it's not quite there. Technically, it's 3 a.m. right now, and you tend to be awake at night anyway, but still. Oh wow, that's late for you. Gosh. I haven't stayed up that late in so long. I mean, I feel like a lot of it truly just depends on like your work or school schedule, which is not something most people are really in control of. Like, I'm not in control of mine. If I could work nights, I probably would. I worked nights briefly when I was a cashier, and I enjoyed it because it was, I don't know, it was nice and slow and like cool in the summer, and I got to have the whole day. It was certainly much easier like making appointments and doing errands, that's for sure. It's so hard to do that stuff like when you work. Uh, like my hours are 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Which means that absolutely everything is closed both before and after I get off work. So I literally have to take days off to do things like important errands. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't know. It's one of those things where like I just didn't consider any of the logistics of this when I was a kid, and now that I'm an adult, um, despite not feeling like an adult, now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh, I have to actually like put thought into this. I have to plan things. God damn it. Yeah, 5:30 a.m. Well, 5 a.m. is when I get up, and it is early. But my sister, it's even worse for her. She gets up at 2:30 in the morning because her job starts at 5. Mine starts at 7:30. So, yeah, I I don't know about a 2:30 a.m. wake up time. I don't think I could do that. It'd be horrible for me. She's like actively looking for another job, so I don't blame her. I would be too. I kind of also am myself. Is she a baker or something? No. I wish. No, she doesn't know how to bake at all. She works as it's a hard job to explain because it's like it doesn't sound like a real job. But she works for one of the big hospitals around here, and they all have patient parking lots, and those parking lots will fill up pretty easily if you don't have somebody monitoring that. So, like counting the number of cars, figuring out if one lot is full, maybe another lot's a little empty, so you start redirecting traffic over there. So, she's basically a data analyst for cars at a hospital, which for some reason requires her to wake up at 2:30 in the morning and get there at 5 a.m., which is not something I've ever understood because they're not filling up on parking at 5 in the morning, but that is when she has to get there. Yeah, it's an odd job. It doesn't sound like a real job, even when she describes it to me. Like as far as I can tell, it's mostly spreadsheets and talking to people on the radio. I don't know. My job feels a lot more straightforward to explain because I just work at like a healthcare clinic as a receptionist. Um, but even then, like once you actually start getting into the complexities of it, my job is not very simple or easy to explain because I have way more duties outside of just like whatever people imagine reception to be. Most jobs don't, to be fair. Yeah, that's true. That is true. There's like so few jobs that are very straightforward and like not straightforward to do, but straightforward to explain because everyone's encountered it. Like teacher. Like if you say you're a teacher, people know what you're doing to an extent at least. But if you say you monitor hospital lots at 5 in the morning, people are like, what? Legally? As a job? Okay. I'm worried my spinning is a lot thicker than it was at the start. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it now, but I kind of feel like my spinning's gotten thicker. I'm really curious what the, like what size it's gonna be and what the yardage is gonna be when we're done. I feel like a lot of the time I can guess, but this is such an odd fiber, and 7.5 ounces is such an odd amount that I honestly have no idea whatsoever. I moved some of the random junk that was in the way, so you can kind of see my bookshelf now, but I feel like it's still, it might even be a more busy background now. I don't know. I'm not totally sure if I will continue streaming regularly, but if I do, like, I've been working on it before stream every time, trying to get a better background and a nicer setup. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm really enjoying the streams. They do take a lot out of me, but I'm like, I would not have spun all of this alpaca if I hadn't been streaming it. That is for sure. I would have spun like 1 ounce and been like, who can I give this to? Who can I pawn this off on? So streams are definitely motivational, that's for sure. The bookshelf makes it look cozy, you think? Well, that's good. I'm glad you think so. I like looking at it for sure. I also have a whole bunch of paintings I want to put up, and I think they would be visible where I plan on putting them up. I just haven't gotten around to it at all. I'm like mostly unpacked, but then there's always like the last straggling things that you don't get around to, and then you move again, and you're like, wow, I didn't do that for 2 years. Hopefully I won't do a ton of that this time. We're definitely gonna end up with an uneven amount of singles on these two bobbins, like for sure. And I'm trying to figure out if I should just switch bobbins and like try and make it look even, or just give in and do a ply bracelet. I don't dislike doing ply bracelets, like I do them all the time, but I don't know how I would film it, like get my hands in frame for it. I feel like it would just be like a very awkward 5 minutes of nothing that you can see. So I kind of want to avoid that. So we'll see what I can do. Here's what we have left, by the way. Not too much. We're getting there for sure. Just taking longer than I want it to. Let's see, it's been about 40 minutes on stream. At a certain point, I will have to briefly get up and check on the bread I have rising, and put it in the fridge. But I think it's going to need to rise for like an hour and a half, probably. It's hard to say because it's so hot in here right now, but I think like an hour and a half. Nicely thinner. Yeah, indeed. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. I was looking at my other, let's call them works in progress, even though I haven't worked on them or made any progress in a very long time. I was looking at those today, doing a bit of cleaning and stuff, and I have like several things I should honestly probably finish up before diving into a new project. Like my e-spinner has a South Down flax blend on it right now, which I like. I fucking hate my e-spinner. It's horrible. It's horrible to use. So I haven't made any progress on it in like a year. But I also want to free up my e-spinner because I think like I might see if I can sell it or at least give it to somebody who might put some use to it and get a nicer e-spinner that is easier to use. I like the idea of e-spinners a lot, especially as I become more disabled. Like I want to spin more, my legs don't work very well. So I really want a better e-spinner. But oh my god, they're expensive when you're not looking at the shitty, terrible ones. Like I want one of those ones with like a pedal. I'd probably use it as an elbow pedal or something like that. But a pedal that lets you control the speed, and then if you totally release, it stops. Because being able to control the speed while spinning it makes it so much easier to draft consistently. If you're just going the same speed the whole time, then it just sort of feels like a frantic, never-ending catch-up. I don't know. You think if you ever got a wheel, you'll look into e-spinners just because you severely lack room. Yeah, that is another. That's another really nice thing about e-spinners. They're quite small. But I will say, like, my spinning wheel doesn't take up a lot of room. Like, I live in a very small apartment right now. I think it's 400 and something square feet. It's small. And my 4-shaft floor loom takes up a lot of room. But I found, like, my spinning wheel, which is maybe on the bigger end of wheels, maybe. It doesn't like get in the way really, unless I leave it in the way. Like if you have a chair and then a little bit of space next to the chair, you probably have enough room for a spinning wheel. Not to be a bad influence, but especially if you get like a castle wheel or something like that, those are really small. And you might even be able to just like slide that next to the chair or something like that while it's not in use. My wheel doesn't quite do that because it's a little bit too long. But yeah, it's small and it only weighs like 15 pounds. So maybe 20 pounds, something like that. It's definitely one of the less space intensive big tools that I own. Like my blending board is kind of more of an issue than this because you have to worry about the tines getting caught on stuff. So storing it can be a little bit of a problem. I will say though, like if I could buy my first wheel all over again, I would not pick this wheel. Like I love this wheel. I'm attached to it because it's been my wheel this whole time. And it has a name and like I've done so much work on it and everything. But I would have gone for a used wheel. This one was new and it was $700. And that was like pre-COVID money, so even more than it sounds like. Which is really frustrating because I see like $100 wheels for sale all the time now. So that's my one piece of advice is like, if you want a wheel, just start like peeking at used wheels. See if there's anything nearby. You might be able to get one for like super cheap, Yeah, it was expensive. It was worth it. Like I'm glad I bought a wheel. I just would have bought a different wheel. And originally, when I ordered it, I ordered an unpainted, unvarnished one because I was going to paint it like blood red. I had a whole idea for it, and then I bought it and paid for it, and then they told me it was out of stock, and I could either wait 3 weeks to get a refund, or I could send $200 more for a varnished version, which is what I ended up doing. But like, man, that is actually some terrible customer service in retrospect. That was Kromsky, by the way. Do not recommend buying new wheels from Kromsky, is all I can say. Because they'll kind of scam you a little bit. I think, like, if I were to buy another wheel now, which I wouldn't unless I started magically getting better. But if I were to buy another wheel, I would probably get a like production wheel, one of the ones that can go really fast. Because I would love to produce massive amounts of yarn. And there was a while in my spinning career where I was producing, I think like my second TDF, my second Tour de Fleece, I produced almost 2,000 yards of yarn, plied yarn. And it was all like, I was preparing it as part of TDF as well. It was just like washed and dyed fleece, which is quite a lot. And I was really happy. And then ever since then, it's been like less and less. Your first wheel only had one bobbin. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that's the worst. I mean, I've heard that like you can ask wood carvers to like make you another one, but I feel like flyers are they're so strange, and like the bobbin has to fit onto it perfectly that I don't know, but that really sucks. I hope you're still able to make good use of it though, because like there's definitely workarounds, just more work. I do sometimes only work on one bobbin if I have my other bobbins occupied, and it's annoying. It's really annoying. I might take a quick water break in just a second. It disintegrated. Oh my god. That's so sad. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Do you have a new wheel now? Or like a new bobbin at least? Because that's rough. I would be so sad. We're almost there, y'all. That's how much we have left to spin of the singles. Almost there. And then plying time. So as soon as I finish filling up this last hook, I'm going to switch to my other bobbin just to mitigate some of the stuff, some of the ply bracelet winding that I will inevitably have to do. I know, huzzah indeed. Very glad to be almost done spinning this. And then the plying always feels like it goes really fast, so that should be good. I don't know how much we'll ply on stream. We will definitely get some plying done. And hopefully all plying done. But that, I don't know. It's hard to say. I can't quite conceptualize how much yarn there is, so. It's retired, but you got lucky and were given a new one for free. It has 2 bobbins, but one of them is broken. You're just using spindles until you can find out what kind of wheel it is and get it fixed. That's a rough situation. I'm glad you're still able to spin, but It sucks to get like two kind of broken wheels in a row. It's not ideal. All right. So let's remove. So, as you can see, there's the one we were just spinning. Definitely more yarn, so I'm going to try and catch up on this other one as much as possible. We'll see. We'll see how far I get. There's only one time in my entire spinning career where I had perfectly even bobbins for plying. Only once. And it was the second time I ever used this wheel. And not ever again. So I don't think we're going to get it, but you never know. Might as well try, right? I need to fix this. Okay. Sorry, I know it probably looks like I'm doing nothing. I'm just resituating everything because I have no idea what I did just now. What is going on? Okay, that's what's going on. It's a little awkward when you can't see what you're doing. Oh, hi, Cat. There's Cat. Hi. Okay, come on, man. Okay, I think we got it. Now we retighten. Now we show Cat. Come on, Cat. Come here. Hi, Chuck. Wolf. Big Chuck. Okay. Hang on. Here she is. This is Chuck. She's baby. Okay. I'll stop torturing him. You can go now. She's got a little couch that is way too small for her because she's a massive cat. And she's been sitting on it staring at me intently for the last hour or so. Oh, I gotta catch up on chat. Let's see. You've gotten lucky with finds of older wheels. Your first was a Castle wheel, and Howell is still trucking it nicely. You just don't have any extra bobbins for your wheel. Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. Being limited by bobbins is kind of a drag, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Many people happy about the cat. That's good. She's kind of mad at me today. I don't think I paid enough attention to her, so I gotta. When I'm done with stream, I definitely gotta, I don't know, cuddle or something before she goes on strike. Something doesn't feel right. What am I doing wrong? You know how when you pick up your spinning again after putting it down for a second and you're like, what is different? Something's very different right now and I don't know what it is. I guess if the footman falls off, we'll figure it out. I don't know, we'll see. So many cardboard rolls have been designated as storage bobbins. Yeah, I know the feeling. I found out that if you cut a little, cut halfway down a toilet paper roll, it'll fit on most cake winders. And so you can wind it off the bobbin that way. I don't do that very often though. My solution to only having 3 wheels and frequently wanting to do 3-ply yarns has been to get into spindle spinning and make dozens upon dozens of spindles. Which, I mean, I love that about spindles. It's so easy to do a 3 or a 4-ply yarn when you have 20 spindles. It's so easy. It's awesome. I do miss spindle spinning a bit. It's just a little bit too hard on my hands right now. But I have a spindle spinning project, actually, that I'm in the middle of. I have a couple of them. One of them's sitting right next to me. And I need to finish those up too. I just don't know when my hands will work again. So I'm considering just finishing those up on the wheel. We'll have to see. I don't like having 10 random spinning projects sitting around, and that is what I have. So, and I'm like actively pursuing another one. Oh, this is how you end up in WIP hell, I think. I usually finish them or like undo them eventually, but it weighs on the mind for sure. Almost done, yay. So I'm taking guesses now. How many yards or meters do we think we're going to get out of this 2-ply yarn? Remember, it's 7.5 ounces. So if anybody has any guess, I'm curious. I have no clue myself. Let's see. You with the dyed things that don't have end goals. Oh my god, I know, right? I have so many dyed fleeces, and I'm like, I like the color I got. I don't know where I'm going with it. I'm like, one of the things I often do is I'll dye a fleece like 4 or 5 different colors, and then I'm like, what the hell do I do with this now? And I don't do anything with it. You really enjoy spindle spinning. You're challenging yourself to make a hoodie. Ooh, on spindles? That's gonna be fun. That's very impressive. Googling what that makes in grams. Yeah, let me know actually, because I tried to do a conversion in my head, like on the first stream. I don't think I got it right, and then I kept forgetting to check. So, I mean, it's a fair few, that's for sure. And we also have another guessing game going on, which is what did I wrap the ply ball around? This ply ball. I usually use a rock. I didn't use a rock this time. I found something much more interesting. And we've established it is the size of some of the rocks that I own. Rock, like saying it's the size of a rock is not super helpful because they come in so many sizes. What is it? It's 212 grams. Interesting. I honestly thought it would be way more than that, but it is also still a lot. Is it like a dry pasta? Like, did I wrap it around a dry pasta? No. I don't have any pasta in my house. I ate way too much pasta as a teenager, and now I can't deal with pasta anymore. I can't tell if that's a guess about what's in the middle of the spindle or if I'm just missing context. I could have. That's true. I could have. But it is. I can confirm it's not a dry pasta. And I'll give another hint. It's not edible, really. You could maybe make it edible if you were determined and if you were weird. But traditionally, it's not edible. Acorn? No. That's a good guess, though. But no, it's not an acorn. A pine cone. Not a pine cone either. That'd have to be a small pine cone. A thing of leather. Also no, but a good guess as well. I guess you could boil leather if you were very desperate, huh? Yeah, not leather. We'll find out when I get to the end of the ply ball, so you'll know the answer, but not for a while, given that I'm still spinning the damn singles. Let's see, we've hit about an hour in the stream. I kind of want to get up real quick and check on my bread to see if I need to pop it in the fridge or not. I also don't really want to interrupt my flow. Actually, I might be able to lean over and see it where I'm at. Okay, I think it's fine for now. I just need to make sure it hasn't like started rising it over the tin, because then I need to pop it in the fridge. I don't know. I'm trying all sorts of like new random things with like cold bulk fermenting, cold proofing, trying to figure out what works for me. So far, nothing. Hopefully, something soon. Guys, look. That's all that's left. So excited. What type of bread is it? It's a very, very small loaf. It's like the ingredients were like 700 grams put together, which is quite small for a loaf of bread. Um, maybe less than that, 500 grams. But the flour is like a spelt and unbleached wheat bread flour blend, and it's a high hydration sourdough. And then my sourdough starter is made of rye. So I guess it's like a blend of spelt flour, why do I keep saying all-purpose? Spelt flour, bread flour, and rye flour as sourdough. I want to put seeds and stuff on it, but that also inhibits the gluten formation, and the gluten formation is what I'm having troubles with. So I'm not adding any of my usual things. We did it. We're done. So small. I know it's tiny. It's really funny, actually. This is my second set of bread tins. The first set that I bought was like this big, like this long and that wide. And that's not what I thought I was getting. They're so tiny. I have no idea what I could possibly use them for, except, I guess, tiny bread experiments. But it only held like 200 grams of dough. So I had to buy another set, and these ones are much more like the size of my hands, like much more reasonable, I feel like. Yeah, I love mini loaves. Now that I live alone, and I really like baking bread often, and also bread goes stale pretty fast, like when it's not commercial, it goes stale pretty fast. I've realized that making mini loaves is the only way to not be drowning in stale bread, which is not what I want to be happening. So, yeah, mini loaves. The thing that I'm doing for this loaf versus the last loaf, which was okay, but could have been better. I definitely had room for improvement. So the difference this time is I'm just doing a cold prove overnight in the fridge instead of a cold pre-ferment. And I'm hoping that will help me make a better bread, but I don't really understand how. So I don't know. I'm so lost, honestly. Like, this is not the kind of bread I usually make. I don't make high hydration. I haven't made sourdough in ages. I don't usually work with rye. I usually add lots of inclusions, and I don't care about gluten development because if you put it in a bread tin, it'll go up the sides eventually anyway. So, like, I've been baking bread for well over 10 years, but in the most lackadaisical fashion possible. And now that I'm actually trying to like get slightly serious with it, I'm having so many problems. It's kind of funny. I'm sure I'll figure it out, but in the meantime, I feel kind of like a clown. Yeah, don't do this to me. Just tying it in a slip knot so that I can attach it to one of the hooks, because I like starting that way. You can see them for banana bread mini loaves. Yeah, if I weren't allergic to bananas, that would probably be the way to go. The problem is, like, I have so many allergies and so many like intolerances and sensitivities to food that it's like even just coming up with something I can eat is kind of hard. This is way thicker than I thought, just to start out with. So there's that. That's interesting. All right, you gonna stay or are you gonna be terrible? Gonna be terrible. Okay. All right, we're doing it. We're finally plying. I need to massively increase tension. Sorry, I'm all quiet for a second. Requires all my concentration for some reason. All right, so we're gonna at least get through these 2 bobbins, and if there's some left over, I may or may not try and do a Plying bracelet. Again, it's just the filming of it that is hard. Plying bracelets themselves, I enjoy, but don't know how I'd film it. And then once we do that, if I still have energy and time, then we will move on to the ball. And if we don't finish the ball, then the ball will be the next. We'll finish it off on the next stream. I'm definitely gonna keep streaming until we finish this alpaca, if nothing else, so that we can see it through. You had to stop eating them because they caused you acid reflux. Ah, that sucks. Yeah, I don't know what my problem with banana is, because they used to be the only fruit I could eat, and then one day I ate one, and it was like my mouth was full of glass, like this horrible histamine reaction that was really painful. And then I ate another one a couple days later just to see if there was like that banana was fucked up or if I just can't eat bananas now. I did the same thing. So I don't know what that is, but I guess I don't eat them anymore. Which kind of sucks because I had this incredible coffee smoothie with banana recipe that I loved making in the summer. It's really good. And I don't know how I would make it without banana. Like maybe applesauce, which I'm a little bit less allergic to than bananas. It's all a substitution game in the end. Yeah, that sounds like not an ideal reaction to eating a banana. That's what I thought. I was like, man, this is not what I was going for. I was just going for a tasty banana. Wow. I really am shocked by how much thicker this yarn is than I thought it would be, and also how incredibly uneven it is. At the moment, it is, the thicker parts are measuring 11 wraps per inch, and the thinner parts are more like, I don't know, 18, which is quite the difference. So that's not ideal. This is definitely one of the less consistent yarns I've spun in quite some time. But I do think that for that hooded cowl idea that I have, I don't think it'll matter. I think it'll be fine. Because it's not super inconsistent. It's like it's inconsistent, but it's not horrible. You should still be able to make the same gauge throughout. It's when you get to like inconsistency where the item literally like shrinks because your yarn is so much thinner that you have problems. And I don't think that'll happen here, hopefully. I'm also realizing I forgot to grab my nitty knotty, so I'm gonna have to get up to grab that once we finish this bobbin. So what's our guesses for how much yarn this is gonna make? Remember, we've got 2 partial bobbins, 2 of these. We've got a partial bobbin already plied, and we've got our ply ball. My guess, and I have literally no clue how close this is going to be or not, but my guess is 600 yards. That's, if I get 600 yards, I think I'll be happy. because that's a fair bit. And I think that's around what I'll get. But total ballpark guess. I have no idea. I'm really curious what's going to happen when I wash it, because alpaca, like, I haven't worked with it a ton, but when I have worked with it, it's bloomed really nicely once it's washed. So it might get like quite thick and fuzzy. It might be nice. You think it fuzzes a lot? Yeah, I think so too. Bloom, yes, that is the word. It blooms a lot. And I'm like, that does depend on the prep, but this was a pretty airy prep, so I think that means more bloom. I know you get lots and lots of bloom with yarns made from rollags, and not a ton of bloom with yarns made from hand comb top, especially if you diz it and diz it well, which I never do. I don't mind like the bloom and the fact that you can't tell how thick a yarn is going to be until you've actually truly finished it. Like, I feel like that's more of a feature than a bug to me, if that makes sense. I like the unpredictability of it. Like, you get what you get, you know. You make what you make. Subtly lean over and look at my bread again. I still don't see it over the top, so I think we're okay. Oh, what happened? Aha. It broke. Oh, that does happen. All right. Let me just splice this back together. For once, I actually have water, so I don't have to splice on camera, which is good. I have a lot of alpaca in my mouth right now. A lot of alpaca fiber. I don't have a way to like dispense the water other than through my mouth, so I just took a sip and then, yeah. I have to keep felting. Hang on. Okay, back in business. I think that was just where I joined onto that second bobbin. I think that's what happened. Fixed it. We're good. If you spin from the fold off top comb, you'd probably get a lot more bloom, like a rollout. Interesting. I've never tried that, but that's a fair point. I never really figured out how to spin from the fold. Like, I know the vague technique behind it, but I never got it to actually work for me, if that makes any sense. But that's an interesting idea, because like there are very much some fleeces that can really only be hand combed, but then like hand combing kind of isn't the best prep for them. Like, they have to be hand combed to get tons of VM out is usually what it is with fine fleeces. So that is a good idea for getting a little bit more loft in those kinds of yarns. I definitely got to give that a try. Thank you. I'm trying to keep an eye on the bobbin because I really don't want it to jump the hook, because that's my least favorite thing to untangle. So if I go quiet a lot, it's because I'm looking at the bobbin. I wish there was a way for me to set up my camera where you could see it. Like, there has to be, but I can't think of it. So I'm also gonna turn this off before it dies. All right. You are lazy and have ended up just spinning off a huge roll lag from the drum carder. Oh, I love doing that. That's always so much fun. I don't have a drum carder myself, but one of my friends has very kindly let me use theirs before, and we just like pulled it off like a massive Rolag, and it was really nice to spin off of. Um, Nothing wrong with that at all, for sure. Camera on top of the loom for different angles. Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that. I'd need to move everything. The only problem is I feel like if I put my laptop on top of the loom with the screen pointed downward, the keys would be pressing the whole time. And then also I wouldn't be able to read chat is the other thing. Like it's already quite difficult to read chat at the moment. And I think if I move it anymore, it's just gonna get worse. But if I were to get like a separate webcam or something that I could like attach and just sort of point toward the bobbin and the wheel a little more, that'd be cool. I don't know. I'm not much of a camera guy is the problem. This is plying slowly. So I think I'm gonna switch to the next smallest whorl. And see if we can speed this up a little bit, because I wanna get this done. I think that's better. The worst thing you can do with alpaca is underply it, in my opinion, because then you just get like this sort of undefined fluff that doesn't wear well and doesn't look very good. That's just my opinion, but yeah, I don't want to underply it, but I also want to finish it quickly, you know. And now we get the good noises going too. I feel like my wheel makes a few more noises when I have it on the smallest whorl, and it's like going as fast as I can. That's like definitely part of why I want a production wheel. Is you can go so fast, and I bet they would make such good noises. Oh, good, it's packing on harder too. That's sort of the other thing is like, if you have it on a low whorl, I feel like it doesn't pack on as much. That's just anecdotal. I haven't actually tested it, but I feel like it doesn't. And then you have to change your bobbin more often if you're spinning a decent amount of yarn. I have a lava lamp right next to me that I originally had like in view of the camera, and sadly all you could see was white from the screen, which is too bad because I'd love to have sort of like a aesthetic element in the background. Originally I was gonna do the stream in the other room with all my plants on like my monstera and stuff, because I love looking at my monstera. I could look at it all day, and I feel like many others could probably do the same, but it's so loud from the traffic in that room. Like, I regret putting my bed in there. The traffic noises are nonstop and incredibly loud, and I feel like they pick up. So this is the best I got for now. We're getting there on the bobbins. They're actually like pretty close. Like, look at this. I got that guy. I got that guy. They're not like identical, but I don't think there's going to be a ton left over, which is awesome. That's what I was hoping for. I realized when I was carting some roll eggs earlier this afternoon, one of the dyes that I used is buckthorn berries. I don't have access to it this year, which is so sad. Last summer, I was living in a place that had 2 pretty decently sized buckthorn trees, like right outside the property. And you can use the berries to make really pretty dyes. But alas, we don't live there anymore. Looks relatively balanced. Yeah, it surprisingly so. Pleasingly so. Oh, I see an issue. Let me adjust the wheel a little bit. It looks like the drive band is too far to the left. So I need to move the mother of all. No, move it that way. Oh, it's already. Okay. Sorry, as far over as it goes. And what else is wrong here? Nothing is wrong here. It just needs to go here. Okay. That's one of my gripes about this wheel, although I love it, is that on the fastest whirl, it does not do well. Like, it sort of starts to rattle itself apart a little bit, which is kind of unfortunate. But nevertheless, we proceed. I'm worried I'm underplying it now, which is really funny because we switched to the higher whirl. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to change. A little more tension. Okay. Oh, that's loads better. It's crazy how, like, spinning wheels are such weird creatures. You turn one knob and it totally fixes the problems you're having, and then you turn another knob and nothing works at all ever again. And then you turn the knob again and it's fine. Like, I love how, I don't know, how fiddly they are. Maybe it's just my wheel that's incredibly fiddly, but I feel like wheels in general are kind of like that, like beasts, you know? Another very subtle lean to look at the bread. Ooh, I actually do see it now. All right. You guys are gonna have to forgive me for a minute or two while I go move this bread over. Let me see if I can find something interesting for you to look at while I'm gone. About the wheel. My beautiful wheel. That's further out of frame. All right. I'll try and be quick, okay? Sorry about that. Just give me a second. And it's over. Well, that's 100% what I meant to do, by the way. Hey. So there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is that my bread looks awesome. And the bad news is that I absolutely just sprained my wrist, which is unfortunate. And the other bad news is that I dropped the bread. Not the dough, thankfully, because that would have totally ruined it at this stage. But the bread that I just made. and that has been cooling on the counter I dropped on the floor. But I did just sweep the floor, so there's that. You have issues with your Saxony wheel currently. It is in pieces because bad wheel. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. I'm so afraid of breaking my wheel. So afraid of it. But I haven't yet. And I do trip on it all the time because, like, when I get up, because I can't walk very well, my instinct is to simply, like, use everything around me for balance. So I put my hand on the wheel to steady myself, and, like, you know, it immediately falls over. I know the bread. It's fine. It's cooked. I will still eat it. I just swept the floor. Chuck, what are you doing, man? She knocked over the trash can, and now she's, like, rummaging around in the recycling, but it's recycling. It's just like cardboard. Don't worry, I think the bread is okay. And the one that's rising does look really nice. Like it just almost started rising out of the tin, which is exactly where I wanted to catch it at. So pleased about that. I'm trying to do one loaf every day, and a mini loaf. And I will probably end up giving away some of the loaves if I can find people to pawn them off on. But in the meantime, it's like I do spend most of my time preparing bread, which is a good thing. I don't know. I need something to do with my time, or I get very unwell, to put it mildly. Which I feel like a lot of spinners can probably relate to. I don't know about anybody else, but, like, I got into fiber arts because at the time I was repeatedly lighting the front yard on fire as a teenager and getting into all sorts of trouble just because, like, I didn't have something to do and I desperately needed something to do. And then I, like, got more serious at crocheting, taught myself to knit, taught myself to spin. And I'm happy to say I haven't lit anything on fire since then. So it's a win. It's a lot of loaves, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it's the main thing I eat. Conveniently, the flour that I'm using right now that I'm about to run out of, spelt. Spelt is a complete protein. So if you eat spelt bread, it's actually quite nutritious and healthy. And if you only eat spelt bread, it's not terrible. So I'm on sort of a bread and fried eggs diet at the moment. Eggs were super expensive here for, like, a while, and then I found a store that sells them super cheap, so I have eggs again, which is nice. You do have a history with fire. Never did anything dangerous. That's yeah, same here though. I mean, it wasn't super dangerous for me. It was a small fire. I was making a stove, and it was a little too effective. Spinning for you was historical reenactment group when you moved and needed a group. Got nerd sniped by null bending, and that led to spinning. I love that for you. That's awesome. I'm still trying to figure out how to null bind myself. It's one of the ones that I'm having quite a lot of trouble with. But null bending is so nice. The fabric that it makes is so beautiful. That's a really cool way to get into spinning, for sure. What is this on? Oh. I've once again let the bobbin be super uneven. So I keep looking at it like, oh my god, that bump is way too big. I need to move the hook. And it's already, like, I moved it a while ago. I do really enjoy that, like, I don't know, plying is a much more simple motion for me. Whenever I teach people to spin, we start with plying. Like, I'll spin up a little sample and I'll just have them ply it, just to sort of get a hang for the tools and everything. Because it is spinning, but you don't have to work on drafting. You just sort of watch the twist and move it forward. It's nice. You only know Oslo and Mammon Stitch so far. Going to traverse further once you are done with the current pair of socks. Nice. Are you null binding socks right now? That is really cool if so. I have been eyeing null bound socks for a while now. I just worry I would destroy them because I have a history of destroying my socks really quickly. Which, like, I'm literally in a wheelchair, so that makes no sense to me now. But I've been destroying socks super quickly my whole life, so I guess wheelchair or no, it doesn't even matter. But like some of the new pairs that I've knit just in the last month already have holes. And I cannot stress enough that I am not walking like most of the time. So I think there's just something like inherently sock eating about my feet, which is a sentence that may never have been said before. Uh-oh, I hear Chuck causing trouble in the other room. Chuck, come here, buddy. Come on. I don't want to get up again because I feel like I'm actually going to fall if I get up. So, oh, I see her. Hello, Chuck. What are you doing, bro? And could you stop? Come here. Come on. Chuck's back. Second pair, trying a new heel technique, and you've already gone through your slipper heels already, which makes you sad. They're only in your house, so you feel me on the why have these become so destroyed. Yeah, I know, right? It's always like, why? What exactly am I doing to shred my socks? Chuck, you're driving me insane, bro. Chuck. No. She absolutely just wants attention. Come here, man. Just come on up. I won't pick you up again, I promise. Come on. She's the most persnickety roommate I've ever had in my life. I just want that on the record. Cat's going to cat accurate. She sure is. Nothing on earth will stop her from catting. I think I just heard her sit in the box, so that's good news for us. I have, despite the fact that my apartment is only about 400 square feet, and that I need clear pathways everywhere because, you know, my wheelchair takes up a lot of space, and I am very good at bumping into things. Despite all of that, I have had to fill my apartment with boxes for her to sit in, or she gets so, like, terrible. Like, she wants a bed in every area so that she can sit in that bed and watch me. If I'm doing things anywhere in my apartment. She's very weird. She's been obsessed with me since she was a kid. I think it's ingrained at this point, unfortunately. Back to the sock thing. I've seen some knitting patterns that, like, basically the way you construct the sock, the foot flap, the part that you walk on, is like removable. And so when you wear through it, you can just knit another one and sew it on. And I feel like maybe you could do the same with null binding. Like, maybe? I don't know enough about it to know one way or another. But, like, I've been considering it for my socks. It's just that I only know how to knit one pattern. I've only ever knit one pattern this whole time with variations on it. And I'm too afraid to try a new pattern. So I'm not going to do it, but maybe somebody else will. we're getting pretty far on these bobbins. I think we're gonna switch to the ball soon, which is nice because I think that might be a little easier on my hands because it's already like pre-wound. We'll see. It also might be super annoying because sometimes it goes like that. Sometimes, like when you wind a ply ball, if you're off in your winding, one will end up with a ton of slack and the other one won't, and then you have to deal with that the whole time you're plying. So I hope that's not what I did. I was pretty careful about it, I think, but I was also very high. So, you never know. You think that could be feasible, you don't have a pattern, nor do you count, so you're creating is a bit of chaos, and if it works, it works. Oh yeah, I feel like that's how I tend to do it too. I had to find a pattern because I didn't understand the geometry of socks. So like until I found a pattern that made any sense to me, I did not produce a single usable sock. And then once I did, like I referenced the math, but I do a totally different toe, I do a totally different heel, I do a totally different bind off, and I usually add like decorative elements. Like the pair that I'm working on right now, I have 3x1 ribbing and cables, which is not part of the pattern. Like I'm just riffing. But when it comes to anything more advanced than pairing a couple of short row techniques together to make a good sock heel, I'm lost. Totally lost. This bobbin is almost full. There's so little left on this other bobbin, on one of the Plying bobbins, that I kind of want to just do it so that it's done. And that way I don't have to grab my midi knobby and I can just switch to the other bobbins. So I think we are going to do a quick ply bracelet after all. But there's very little left. I was pretty good about dividing it this time. So yay for that. I want to at least start on the ply ball before we end the stream. We're not going to finish it. Now that I've sprained my wrist, I will say plying is more difficult. It is definitely more difficult. All I can do is sort of hold it with this hand and not sort out any problems. So, but no matter, I do that all the time. I wonder if I can aim this down a little, so that you can actually see the bobbins. Sorry, the camera's going to be moving for a second. So let's see what I can do. Aha, okay. Oh, I totally can't read chat now. Well, I might, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have a preference? I wish I could show the bobbins and the flyer at the same time, and the wheel, because the wheel is the fun part to watch, in my opinion. But I would need like a wider lens for that, I think. Let me know, I guess, if you have a preference. Otherwise, I'll just leave it where it is. But yeah, we're very nearly done with these two bobbins of singles, which is exciting. I did just realize I'll have to do this ply bracelet with a sprained wrist, which doesn't sound fun. We'll see. All right. Alpaca in my mouth. I have to say, and this is probably a weird thing to have a preference for, but I would much rather have wool in my mouth than alpaca in my mouth, because I feel like alpaca kind of sheds in my mouth, and I don't love it. You have no preference at this point. That's good. Not a bad angle. The current angle, I hope. But if you want me to switch back to the other angle, I'm happy to do that. Ooh, I think I can even kind of show it once I get this going. I got it. All right. Sorry if I'm moving too fast for the camera to actually pick it up. No, don't trap that. Hang on. Now I need to debug. Usually when I'm doing ply bracelets, I either have a rubber band with me, or I have long sleeves, or I have tape. And the reason for that is to keep the tail out of the way. I have not done that. Now it's in the way. Okay, we're good. We're good. Trying to think of something I can use to stick it to me. Well, we'll see how that works. I don't think it will. Just put a sticky note there. Yeah, no, it fell off. All right. I'll just be mindful. That'll definitely work. Ooh, can I hold it? I can hold it. No. Okay. Sorry, guys. Just get this over with. Why don't we? If I just let it hang loose, it's not too bad as long as I have everything at a certain angle, so I don't catch it. But this is not the ideal way to be doing it. I'm just a fool. All right, we did it. I will say this part is way thinner than the rest. I clearly started out spinning pretty thin, so there's going to be a thin section here, which I'm not thrilled about, but that's okay. You did one ply bracelet attempt so far, but had to slip it off the hand because your middle finger was turning purple. Oh yeah, it can get bad. I found that how do I describe it? Because I had that issue at first too, and I found that if you have it so that the ply bracelet is wrapping around the outside of your hand instead of around the inside of your hand, which is what you traditionally see. The outside does not seem to pull as much. At least I don't turn purple when I do it around the outside instead of around the inside. So I don't know if that will help at all, but maybe give that a try. You have never seen a ply bracelet before? Well, now you've seen a very bad example of one. Sorry, I'm spit felting again. Hang on. They're one of those things that it feels a little bit magical to do. I don't know if magical is the right word, but it kind of feels like the right word. Because it's just this continuous motion with your hand, right? But then at the end of it, magically you have two ply. And once you figure out the hand motion, once it's muscle memory, it's really easy. Oh, this is so thin. Okay. I'm actually, this was the very first bit that I spun of this yarn, and I clearly spun it way thinner. And I don't want a section of way thinner yarn. So I'm going to do something terrible. Just remove this and spin it as its own separate thing later. That's what I'm going to do. And in the meantime, play ball time. Finally, I even have its own special bowl. So that's exciting. Spit splice, hell yeah. I love spit splicing. It's gross, but it works. I think I'm going to go for just a new bobbin. Because this one's pretty much full. I don't really see the point in filling it totally when I have two other bobbins I'll be able to fill. So here is bobbin 1 of plied yarn. Let's see if we can get any definition in there. I don't know. A little bit. I think it's nice and fuzzy looking. I'm liking it. Looks nice. Come on. Come on. Okay. Tiny spray bottles, your beloved. Interesting, you use spray bottles. I use spray bottles when I'm combing, like to decrease static. Or they're actually not spray bottles; they're perfume bottles that I filled with a mixture of olive oil and water. But that's what I use, and it works okay. I've never thought about like just having one next to me for splicing. It's an interesting idea. If I was around somebody who was more of a germaphobe, that would definitely be what I would do. Or have like a bowl of water or something. When I'm wet spinning flax, I always wet spin with a big bowl of water next to me, and I end up like totally soaked in water. Oh, this is thin too. Okay, it's gonna be uneven as fuck. That's okay. You teach null bendings something, so you grab them for classes. That's cool. Oh, sometimes. Yeah, that's awesome. That's like makes a lot of sense. Because definitely in a classroom setting, you don't want everybody spitting on their hands constantly, I assume. So that's an interesting idea. That's cool that you teach null binding or null bending. I'm sorry if I'm saying it in a way people don't agree with. I don't know how to pronounce that word. That is awesome though. I've always wanted to teach fiber arts and I've just never been given the opportunity. But if I ever am, oh my god, I'm jumping on it 100%. Like I would love to teach spinning. I guess I taught some kids when I was a summer camp counselor briefly. Well, for one summer. I taught kids some spinning and some braiding and a couple other fiber artsy things. And most of them, they just weren't quite that right age range for it. But some of them were. And I think some of them honestly like got it. They might even be spinning now, which I have no way to prove whatsoever, but it's a really nice thought. So I like to pretend that they are. Either or works in your opinion. You teach within the SCA, your historical reenactment group. Oh, that's cool. That is really cool. I bet we have an SCA in my city, and I'm just not part of it. But I really should be, because that sounds so fun. I'm sure that this changes like depending on the local culture and stuff, but have you found any issues with like people with very modern medical devices in the SCA? Because my initial instant assumption is that like I would not be super welcome with my power chair. But I don't know if I'm just assuming because I'm a bit of a pessimist at this point, or if that's actually a potential issue. You gotta go to bed, but this was a nice stream. I'm glad you were here, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good night. And this whole thing will be, like, it stays up on YouTube, so if you want to catch the last bit of it, that should be doable. Like, pretty easy. So, yeah, have a good night. This ply ball is absolutely easier, 100% easier. But there are issues, though. Like, at least I think, is that? Okay, that's VM. I thought there was a twist or like a little bit of yarn that had twisted on itself, but it was actually just a piece of VM. So maybe there aren't any issues. It's way easier. My hand definitely still hurts, but less, which is good. But I will say this whole section way thinner than the other bobbins. So I hate when I do this. I'm so bad at keeping consistent with like large amounts of yarn. I don't know how other people do it. I assume there's got to be some kind of trick, but whatever it is, I haven't learned it. That's for sure. That one you couldn't say for certain. You're not in a large population. It would depend on your local area. You personally have seen folks with mobility aids like walkers and canes. Well, that's good to know. Because if people are like hostile to walkers and canes, they're absolutely going to be hostile to power chairs. So, but if they're not, then maybe they won't be. I've found, even though there's honestly like a very high percentage of power chair and wheelchair users in my local area, we are not well liked. Not at all. So I don't know, but people in groups, especially groups like the SCA, I could imagine might be like made up of the more tolerant ones rather than the more like right wing asshole ones. You'd hope anyway. For keeping your spin consistent, some people spin their first bit, keep a sample, and then use that as a periodic reference to adjust their thickness. I know, and I've heard of that, and I've done it in that I've kept a sample, but then I never reference it. Like it's the referencing it part that I just can't do for whatever reason. It doesn't happen. I'm like, I literally have this WPI card tied to my wheel, and yet how often do I use it? Like rarely, and almost never for its intended purpose. I don't know. I mean, I think to a certain point it doesn't matter. Like, how much does it actually affect anything that this yarn for my potential cowl will be uneven? It doesn't. Like, if it gets bad, I'll just hold another strand alongside or something like that for the thin parts. It doesn't really matter. It's more just about my own personal, like, I've been spinning so long, how have I still not figured this out, So we are at 1 hour and 52 minutes right now. I don't necessarily want to go over 2 hours. I think I probably shouldn't be spinning for 2 hours. Because I'm not good at knowing my own limits, and I tend to just injure myself doing this sort of thing. So I may just crack open the adult beverage I had saved and finish that, because it's a very small one, and do a bit more spinning, and then show y'all where I'm at. But I'm afraid there's almost no way we're going to see the center of this thing. It's not cold. God damn it. I put it in my lunch bag that I got for free from work when I cleaned out the fridge and nobody claimed it. And it keeps things cool, and I put an ice pack in it, and then I didn't zip it. So it's warm. Give me a sec. I'm just trying to open this thing. Oh, well. Do have a break. Thank you. I will have a quick break. We're not over yet, though. I will say that. I have a little bit more spinning left in me. I haven't switched legs, although I did fall on that leg like literally half an hour ago. So maybe I shouldn't. But I'm just enjoying hanging out with you guys. It's fun. I have a crafting group at work that I've missed for the last couple of weeks due to being unable to go to work. But it's like, it's one of those things where until you get it, you don't realize how much you needed it. Like having a group of people to just like talk about, whatever random stuff with, and do stuff with your hands and just like be in a chill, friendly environment, which is what this is for me as well. Like it feels similar to my crafting group at work, which is very beloved to me. Which is why I don't want to end the stream. I don't want to stop streaming either. I don't know. I'm very bad at prioritizing my health. And I'm of the opinion that, like, you gotta live a little. Whatever it is that's going on, you still gotta live a little, right? So, as a adult man in my mid-20s, my living a little is spinning. That's okay, though. My coworkers think I'm very weird, I can tell you that. You love those little groups. You used to go to a Stitch and chat. It was usually you and a lot of old ladies. Absolutely hilarious group. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've tried out a few of the like library knitting groups in my area, and the old ladies were not super fond of me. Like we just didn't click. It's not that they were mean. They were perfectly polite. But I don't know. I just had a hard time conversing. And then my group at work is it's only one old lady, and she's an incredibly awesome old lady who I love. And then everybody else is like around my age or maybe mid-30s. I'm really bad at guessing ages, so I couldn't say. But because we all work in the same building, but in totally different fields, and interact with patients in completely different manners. So, like we know each other, but we don't work together really. But we don't talk about work anyway. So we mostly just talk about our woes, our fiber arts woes mostly. There's this one time when one of my coworkers in the group brought this huge blanket, and we were like, dude, did you just finish crocheting that blanket? And she's like, no, I just started frogging this blanket. And she spent the whole session frogging this massive, beautiful blanket, and she wouldn't say why. I'm guessing it's a sweater curse sort of situation, just based on the vibes of it. But yeah, that was an interesting one. I don't think I ever have a bad time with my knit groups. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just the cost of doing business, but also it's sad. And mostly I'm sad because it's like, if it is a sweater curse thing, like, damn, I like her. She deserves better. She deserves somebody who doesn't make her like sweater curse or blanket. I don't know. It's possible she just like got to the end and then hated it and undid all of it. Because I will say I've done that before. Like, it happens. But it sucks when it's a whole blanket. And it wasn't like a tiny Afghan either. It was like a good twin size at least. But most of the time we're making stuff or charting stuff. And I'm very excited because my favorite pharmacist, who I'm almost 100% sure is gay, just entirely based on vibes, but I'm almost 100% sure. She knits, and we talk all the time because she's the Hep C coordinator, and like, I'm a receptionist, so when people come in with Hep C complaints, like, they come to the front desk. So I talk to her all the time anyway. Her and another pharmacist are joining the knit group on Monday. So hopefully it'll be like a bigger group. It'll be a little more, well, I don't know. I like how it is now, and I like the idea of future changes as well. I wonder if she de-ramenified the yarn. Oh, she did not. No. She didn't even wind it up. That was kind of the worst part, is that she was frogging it directly into a trash bag. And I've seen her other projects, and she just comes in with like a huge knot of yarn, and then we all just sit there trying not to stare at it and like grab it and untangle it for her. She just likes working like that, but I know, she's chaos. We love her, but she's chaos for sure. There have been a couple of like old ladies who have come in for just 1 or 2 sessions and then left, because we use Teams at work for whatever insane reason, and I made a Teams chat for our knitting group. So anyway, like if they leave the Teams chat, that probably means they're not coming back. But she was crocheting this incredible sweater, like with very thin, maybe lace weight yarn. And I just never seen crochet that fine and that beautiful. And I'm like, I really want to crochet a sweater now. I've crocheted a sweater in the past and it was absolute garbage. I immediately donated it in case there was like a Bigfoot with bad taste out there who wanted my horrible sweater. But like realizing, oh, you can work with really thin yarn, and like you can work, you don't have to do, like with knitting, typically you kind of start at the bottom and work up, or vice versa. But with crochet, you can just go sideways a lot easier. And I kind of want to do that. But it's also, do I need another project right now? No. No, I don't. What are you all working on right now? Or do you have any passion projects that you have in mind in the future? As someone with 5 different hobbies within reach, another project is never needed. Oh yeah, I get that. And then you're working on a pink shawl. That is awesome. Is it null bound then? Is it crochet? Is it knit? Weaving? What kind of shawl are we going for? Pink is a good color for a shawl, though. It's a good color for almost anything, but especially a shawl. I'm going to do a tiny bit more spinning right now in between sips of my drink. It's not very good when it's warm, is the problem. And it is warm. You just finished your terrible fiber singles, but you also have something on your loom you keep forgetting. And you just bought wood for painting / wood burning, but that's something else. Wood burning is so fun. I hope you enjoy that. Currently working on an 8-meter long braids from embroidery thread. Wow, that's a lot. That's awesome. You have 1 done and halfway through the second with 4 more to do. And it's a hand-spun stockinette shawl for a friend. Oh, that's going to be so beautiful. Wow. If you end up posting it on Tumblr, I would love for you to tag me in it. I really want to see it. It sounds really nice. There's something about like pink in hand-spun that is just so lovely. It's just such a good color for hand-spun. Laundry is done, switching to phone, unable to do the chat for a bit. No worries, and thanks for letting me know. Hopefully the fact that I am attempting to read the comments aloud helps a little. I noticed that in the VODs, actually I don't even know if that's the right word, but like once it's no longer a stream and it's just a video on YouTube, you can't see the chat. So I try to read it so that there's like context for anybody watching it later. Or anybody who has it with chat disabled for whatever reason. So hopefully that'll help you out a little. Good for you doing laundry, though. I did laundry last week, and I never took it out of the washer. And now it's gross because it didn't even dry properly, so I'm washing it again. So that's where I'm at with laundry. Not a good place to be. Aside from spinning this and my other many spinning projects, I've got my sock, my second sock that I'm working on, that I'm in the middle of turning the heel, and I keep like picking it up for 2 or 3 rows and then putting it back down, which is kind of an achievement in and of itself, because like in the past, if I put down a sock heel in progress, I was screwed. Like I had to finish it because I'd get lost. But now like I understand the construction that I specifically do for socks well enough that that's not an issue, which is really good, because frocking sock heels is the worst. You have to fold your laundry from Monday. Oh, yeah, I feel you. I put my laundry on this chair 2 weeks ago, like the last load of laundry, and I've just been moving it from surface to surface instead of actually putting it away, which is horrible. And I dislike that I'm doing that greatly, but here we are. I don't know why laundry is so hard. Maybe it's just like all the steps involved. Like there's very few chores that have so many steps involved. You know, like you want to go clean the bathroom, okay. Like that's not too bad. You want to do the dishes, okay. But the laundry, like, oh my god, I hate laundry. Laundry is not my friend. Oh, that was the laundry. Wait, no, that's not the laundry done. That's the dishwasher done. So maybe some of the background noise will decrease now that we're on the tail end of the stream. I think laundry is absolutely the worst chore for me. Like it's not even that I don't enjoy doing it. It's just that I can't make my brain do it sometimes. There was a point in my life where we didn't have a washing machine, and the closest laundromat was like miles away, and we didn't have a car. This was when I was living with my sister. And so we bought like a hand wash machine, but in the end, I basically just ended up buying new clothes. But not new clothes, buying used, extremely cheap clothes from Goodwill that were clean already, instead of hand crank washing my laundry, which was not a proud moment in my life. And I've only recently finished getting rid of all of those clothes that I bought, which is a relief, because I didn't even like them. It was like I just needed clothes, and I didn't have time to wash them. Yeah, glad to be done with that. Yet still in laundry hell, as are we all, I think, to some degree. And the thing is, like, when it comes to hand washing, like my wools, I don't mind that at all. Like, I don't put that off. It's not a problem. But the actual, like, laundry machine washing part, that's an issue. Ah, I love a good fly ball. I feel like not many people do fly balls necessarily, but they're so worth it. You hate it so much in part because you have to go to the laundromat. Oh, that's the worst. Yeah. The only worst thing is cleaning windows for the same reason. You know, I do not clean my windows. I don't think I've cleaned windows since I was a kid. Like, if they're dirty, they're dirty. I'm not doing it. It rains enough here that I feel like they get sort of, like, they never get that gross. But if they did, oh my god, too bad. I can't. I'm not doing that. But the laundromat part, that makes it so much worse for sure. Because, like, you can't even just, like, sit it and go because someone might steal your shit. So you have to, like, actually stay there the whole time, which is awful. You know, we're actually getting pretty far on this ball. Like, I think initially, well, you know, I honestly don't remember what size it was, but it's getting smaller. We're getting there. Still no accurate guesses as to what I wound it around, by the way. Oh, is that Chuck meowing? Buddy, I'm over here. I can't tell if that's her or not. It might be. I have such bad hearing these days. You have gotten the habit of the last day of your work week, you do your laundry for the week. It must be folded out of the dryer, but can sit in the basket for a while. If you leave it unfolded, it goes badly. Yeah, that's the trick to it, I think, is folding it. Because once you fold it, it's usable. It's easy to sort through, and you can tell it's clean, right? But before then, it's like this could be anything. And it's the folding part that well, honestly, it's the taking it out of the dryer part that I don't usually do. Folding is kind of hard, though, these days. But that sounds like a good system. I'm glad you got something that works for you. I guess it's probably one of those adult things that, like, you have to figure out how you specifically can effectively do it, and it might take, like, a couple of decades. I'm guessing it's going to take me a couple of decades because I'm a slow learner, just in general. I've at least like started to figure out dishes. Like there have been times in my life where the dishes piled up a horrific amount, but at the moment, like I have a dishwasher, which is great because I can no longer hand wash dishes. But I haven't had any pileups since I moved here. Like it's gotten a little dodgy, but it hasn't been too bad. There's been no mold. If there's mold, I know we got big issues, and there's been no mold, so at least there's that. That's how you get around your neurospicy. Yeah. You used to, when you lived in apartments, you actually hang dried in your place to save money. Oh my gosh, yeah. And you hang dry too, but need to fold not too long afterwards because it eats up space. Yeah, I have a huge like drying rack, which unfortunately is absolute garbage because I really need it because like my stupid little it's in my apartment, which I greatly appreciate, but it's a washer dryer combo and it never fully dries things, and it also does not remove all of the lint, so like the cat hair stays on there, but like it needs to be hung up to dry, and I don't have any other way to dry it except hanging it up on the rack, except the rack like deforms under weight, which is not ideal for a rack that's supposed to hold heavy wet clothes. So I need to get a new rack, and I think that might actually solve my problems quite a bit. But I'm a clothesline guy all the way. Like whenever I've lived somewhere where I could have clotheslines, I never dried anything. Except socks sometimes to sort of tighten them up. I line dried everything. Highly prefer that for sure. Hanging the laundry implies knocking off various surrounding objects and swearing. Yeah, it does. That's accurate. My guess is we're going to get 3 full bobbins out of this. Maybe a little less, but also the later plop and cursing at whatever fell off the line. Ugh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like I did so many weird, like, clothespins arrangements to try and keep stuff on the line. Especially because the last place I lived that had a clothesline was, like, it was incredibly windy. It was basically in a wind tunnel. So, I mean, it meant the clothes dried pretty fast because there was so much wind, but they were constantly blowing off into the neighbors' yards unless I secured them really well. So it was a thing. I really miss that place though. Like in retrospect, I'm not a big fan of the city. Like I actively hate the city. If I'm being honest, and I really miss the country. But unfortunately, I live in the city, so stuck here for a while. Yeah, I'm glad that it's not just me with the laundry woes. I have to say, um, that makes me feel better. Laundry woes are universal. I feel like I'm slowly getting there with meal prep, like in terms of having my shit together. I'm slowly doing that with meal prep, but for some reason, my cooking is getting worse, not better, which is odd because I've been cooking since I was a kid. But it's getting worse. So like I made a huge batch of seitan to eat over last week, and it's literally inedible, and I don't know why. Luckily, it wasn't like a huge like seitan is very cheap for me to make, um, but oh my gosh, so annoying. So like I spend all this time meal prepping stuff, and then it just is not edible, and this like continually happens. It's not ideal. You do need to ask your landlords if you can put one outside this summer. I hope they say yes, because those are awesome. And you live in a small town, which is much nicer than the cities you have lived in, albeit small cities. Yeah, I grew up in small towns. Like I'm originally from a big city. I'm from San Francisco, but I didn't live there very long, and I grew up in small towns. And I just like I don't like the noise and the cars and the sidewalks everywhere. I want to look at green and not see people and not hear cars, and I can't deal with it. You've always lived in the city, but that does mean no yard. Yeah. I used to love gardening so much back when I could still do it. Um, and like moving, like now that I have no yard, like I have no balcony even, I have no nothing. I do have, like, to be fair, quite a lot of plants still, but they're mostly indoor plants. But it feels like, oh, I can't grow tomatoes. Damn it. You dislike cooking, so you make work lunches for the week, and the rest is not actual meals because you do the grazing. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get that. When I get home, I'm like, I don't make dinner. I just like, if there's food that I can readily eat, I eat that. And otherwise, I just go to bed. You come from a Canadian prairie farm family, which is much different from the mountain area you now live in. Oh, yeah. That does sound like it'd be like culturally very different. I come from like a agricultural area. Like everything was very ag focused, and it was a um, very isolated, tiny town. And oh, I didn't appreciate it enough at all. Gosh, most of the places I lived had a creek within like 10 feet of the front door. Like, creeks. I miss creeks. You have this thing where you find it easier not to talk to people in the city than in the countryside, so that works for you, but it's still very noisy. Yeah, I get that. It's a lot more impersonal in the city, and I do appreciate that. Like I feel like I have very limited social energy, like extremely limited to the point that I frequently lose friends over it. And so having to like make small talk with all these random people just like sucks, because it's like I'd rather be talking to one of the three people that I'm trying to maintain a relationship with. At the moment, I don't really have that going on, so that's why I'm streaming. Um, I'm honestly, I don't know if any of you have heard of the term aplatonic, but I'm kind of like wondering if I'm aplatonic. And aromantic and aerosexual. Like, am I just not a people person in every single sense of the word? Maybe. You're from a very small city, but now living in Ottawa, and it's too overwhelming. Oh, yeah, that sucks. I hope you're able to move somewhere like less overwhelming soon. Ottawa sounds like so much. I've never been to Canada, as I don't have a passport, but I did used to watch a lot of hockey, and from what I've seen, it looks like a lot. My condolences. You love your hometown. You want to live and die in your hometown. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. It's just like my hometown is being repeatedly burned by wildfires, and I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Like that's why I left. It was just the wildfires and the having to pack up and wondering if you were ever going to see your house again multiple times a summer. Like I couldn't do it. I had to leave. You're also aero ace, but not quite aplatonic, you'd say. But you sure as shit cannot live with other people. Oh, yeah, I get that. I was supposed to have a roommate when I moved this time, and it did not end up working out for multiple reasons. But despite the fact that, like, now I have to do stuff that physically is really dangerous for me, just like to keep the house clean. Despite that, I'm like, oh my God, I fucking love living alone. I would not trade it for anything. It's like just being able to go home and know that there's nobody there is so nice. So nice. From France here. Nice. Hello from France. I speak French, but I only speak Quebecois, so I'll probably keep that to myself. Because I don't think we'd understand each other very well anyway. I also feel like, because I haven't really focused on maintaining my Quebecois, and I've been trying to learn Spanish instead, because there's many Spanish speakers here, and I prefer to converse with them. There's nobody here who speaks French. So I think my French is really slipping. But I actually said a full sentence in Spanish to one of our clients the other day, and my bilingual coworker who speaks Spanish as a first language was like, "Good job!" And I was like, "Yay, thank you, I did it." For several years, you had to work at your mother's for health reasons. You relish so much living on your own now. Oh, yeah, I can see that. I never want to live with my mother again. Not ever. She has offered a couple of times as a solution to my being disabled. And it's like, no offense, Mom, but no. Just like the hardest possible no to that. Much rather live on my own. If I'm being honest, like if I didn't already have Chuck, I probably would not get a pet. Like I love Chuck, and I'm certainly never going to leave her behind or give her up. Like we're buddies for life. But if I could be like even more alone, yes, please, I would do that for sure. Do you have this thing where when trying to speak Spanish, you speak French? I had that for several languages. Oh my God, yeah. Yes, every time. Like, so I've studied 6 or 7 different languages at this point. And like, my 2 native languages are French, like Quebecois French, and English. And my brain is like, if it's not English and it's not French, we're not listening to it. So I took like several Russian courses, and my Russian teacher would ask me a question in Russian, and I would respond in French. And like sometimes I start responding in French when I'm speaking to like Spanish speaking patients, and they look at me like I've grown a second head, which is fair because why would that be helpful, right? But yeah, French is always like the first thing my brain wants to put out of my mouth for some reason. I'm glad it's not just me, because it's very weird. I really like Russian, and there's a lot of Russian speakers in my area. But it's one of those languages where, like, I think I would need an actual, like, dedicated teacher, and probably to be immersed in the language to actually get it, because it's so different to me. Like, there's so few cognates. The grammar doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Obviously, it's Cyrillic, not the Roman alphabet. It's a hard language, and like I'm dyslexic, and I find that I'm much more dyslexic in Russian than I am in English, which kind of sucks. Although I think that's like a learned skill. Oh, wrong way. Because like I only am able to read in English because I put an awful lot of time into learning how to read in English, despite my dyslexia. And I can read in French. It's easier because the spelling is more obvious, I feel like. I can read in French, but I can't read it anywhere near as easily, just because I haven't put as much time in. Because, I mean, growing up in California, like, my school was in English. Everybody around me spoke English except my mom, who speaks Quebecois and English. You with Irish, you can kind of get it, but you'd need immersion to properly get it. Yeah. Yeah. Irish is such a beautiful language, and I've tried and gotten almost nowhere. You studied a tiny bit of Russian in college, but had 2 hours a week of it and 15 hours of Swedish at the time. I was studying Russian and Swedish at the same time, too, actually. And indeed, it is a terrible way to learn a language. I don't recommend it either. And I think, like, I remember almost no Swedish, and my Russian has not improved. So I'm certainly not doing that again. French is a very ungrateful language, too. It is. And sort of unforgiving. Although I will say, like, I almost never have issues spelling in French, which is really nice, because I have a lot of issues spelling in English. Like, if there's an unfamiliar word, I cannot spell that in English. But in French, we have actual rules of pronunciation and spelling rules. And so, like, you can guess with decent accuracy, at least compared to English. Like, you can guess and have a fair chance of being right. It's possible I might actually finish all of this yarn, because we've finished this second bobbin. This second bobbin is full. And if I spin any more on it, it's gonna it's gonna overflow. So that's cool. You keep trying to pick up a second language, but always end up feeling guilty for wanting to learn it for no reason. I mean, I get that. But like, also wanting to learn a language is a reason in and of itself, right? Like, it's the cognitive effects of knowing multiple languages really can't be overstated. And it opens up all these new, like, if there's a media or a piece of media in that language that you really want to enjoy in that language, like, it opens that up. I don't know. It definitely doesn't sound like selfish to me or anything like that. The English is worse on pronunciation. Oh, that English is worse on pronunciation is saying something. Is it? To be honest, I feel like French is such an easy language. Like, I don't know if I call myself fluent now, but when it comes to French, it's just like, it's so much more straightforward, I feel like. Maybe that's just me. suppose it's got a lot to do with how you use the language. Like, because I don't use French in my day-to-day life anymore. Not at all. Some of my friends I've taught French to, like taught, a little bit so we can have a bit of a conversation. But I don't use it in my daily life. So like, I don't really know any terminology for anything. Like, I mean, I know knitting terminology and I know hockey terminology, and some medical terminology. Give me 1 sec. I have to use my mouth as a third hand. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I imagine like the way that you use a language probably impacts how you feel about it. Like English for me is a utility language. I use it to communicate to other people. Like it's just there to serve a purpose. But then French, I do read books in French, and like I think in French most of the time. I don't know. It's odd. It's all very odd. Languages are weird. You can't roll your R's. Spanish and French are a little fun. I can't roll my R's either. I have a bit of a lisp in French. And I guess in Spanish too, although I'm so bad at it, I don't know if it can be called a lisp yet. It's more or less straightforward on listening/hearing, but in speaking or writing, rules get pretty irregular. That is true. That is definitely true. You have the terminology problem because most of your sources for spinning are in English and no one knows what roving is. Oh my god, I know, right? Like trying to find any fucking info on spinning in French can be so frustrating, because like it's all contradictory and it doesn't feel like it's been updated. Like the language itself feels like we have not gotten with the current spinning times. Like I don't know what the word for drum carder is in French because I don't think there is one. Like I don't think we've got that far. I don't know. I don't speak much in French, it's true. Like formulating sentences in French is definitely a little harder, but reading it feels more straightforward, if nothing else. I'm not good at writing in it. I spent a while in high school translating Rimbaud's poems into English, and I think that did help a bit with like sort of a more poetic understanding of French, because having a poetic understanding of English has been important to me because I am a poet, just mostly in English. I've only written a few poems in French. I should really write more in French. I guess it's the audience thing, like who's gonna read it? Ooh, you do know what it is? Oh, that's cool. Carduza Rollo. I could see that. That makes sense. Okay. Well, now we're on to something. Thanks for letting me know. That's cool. I would love to like just hang out with French spinners or Quebecois spinners, or just Francophone spinners, and see what words come out of our mouths. That'd be interesting. All right, I've drunk my drink. We've got 2 bobbins that are pretty full. We've got this much left, which is definitely diminished since the last time I showed it to you guys, but I don't think I can finish this tonight. Drink has been drunk, indeed. So I think what we're going to do is probably end the stream in a few minutes. And in the meantime, I will continue carding some more of those Rolags and finding other things to spin. And because this is, finishing up just this God damn it. It rolled so far away. Whatever. Finishing up just that ball, it would be like a half-hour stream, and that seems like a bit of a waste. But also, I'm tired, so and it's like what 8:30, 8:40 for me. So yeah. So I think the next stream we'll finish up Plying, and we'll finally find out what I rolled around, like what I used to roll the yarn around. Yeah, I definitely need to get my hands a break and my leg a break as well. I never switched legs, so I was spinning for 2 hours on the same leg, possibly 2.5 hours, which isn't ideal. But yeah, so next stream we'll finish this up and then we'll start a new project. I think. I don't know. I've been really enjoying these streams. I really love talking with you all. Everybody that's come on for all of these streams has been really lovely. And it's been good company, good stress-free company. A lot of my company these days is super stressful for one reason or another. So I think I will keep up with these streams, at least for the foreseeable future, which might just be a couple of weeks. I will say my health is the deciding factor here. If I stop being able to spin or easily sit upright, then we got problems. And it just is what it is. But until then, I think I will keep going because I really enjoy it. And thank you for sticking this one out. This 2.5 hour stream is a beefy stream. Thanks for chilling with me for it. Yeah, I'm gonna weigh the ball and see how much we have left to spin. But yeah, I think it's like 1 bobbin's worth and we'll be done, and then we'll have 3 full bobbins of spun yarn, which is a lot. That's a lot. I don't usually spin that much yarn. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna head off to bed, or honestly, I'm probably gonna go have a cigarette, but I'm gonna head off. I hope you all have a wonderful night. I think some of my upcoming streams I might do more in the morning to get the morning crowd. And then I'll also do some evening ones because evening is really the one that works with my schedule. But on the weekends, I can do morning ones. So those of you who are staying up to 3 a.m., you don't have to do that, hopefully. I'm glad you had fun. Yeah, you all have a good night as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and helping me spin this yarn. Because truly it would not be spun right now if I wasn't like talking with you all. So I'm going to end the stream now. You all have a wonderful night, and thank you so much for hanging out.